Hello and welcome back to the Limitless Podcast. I'm so glad you're here. What an honor. I'm so happy to be here with you on this Tuesday. So, if you're new to this podcast, we talk about all kinds of things. We talk about your relationship in your marriage, we talk about your relationship with yourself, we talk about your relationship with money, your business, etc. My job, my passion, my mission is to help you free yourself of the constraints that are holding you back in your mind. Those stories that we are telling ourselves over and over and over that are lack and limitation. That is not your truth, my friend, because your truth is you are truly limitless. There are no limitations that have been placed on you except for those that we have chosen to believe about ourselves. So, welcome back, divine loves. I'm so glad you're here. Today's topic is, if you've been with me for a while, you know that there has been a tremendous amount of healing that has happened in my marriage over 33 years. And we are in the best place that we have been in our marriage. Even those really beginning years and all of the love and affection and all of the butterflies in your stomach type of love, we are in such a better place than we have ever been. And it really is because I went through my spiritual psychology certification. It was a 2-year certification, really doing some inner work and healing and some things that I needed to heal within myself, within some relationships, with my mother, and some other relationships as well. And after I did that healing, I recognized, wow, there's one relationship that I really need to do some work. I'm triggered here a lot. What I find with women is that we get triggered a lot when we are entrepreneurs in business, and we also get triggered in our marriage. And so I think our marriage is one of the biggest areas of our lives where we are constantly being triggered. And I want you to understand that the basis of everything that I do is every relationship in your life is here for you to learn areas where you are not free. You will continue to be presented with circumstances and people that will trigger you in a way that lets you know, I'm not free in this area. And that actually happened in my marriage, where I recognized, wow, I've done all of this work, but I'm definitely not free because I was being triggered all the time in my marriage. And I made the decision that, whatever happens in my marriage, and I definitely didn't want it to go south for sure. But I just remember thinking, whatever happens in my marriage, I want to be whole and healed. And in the fact that I'm still feeling some triggers, I'm not whole and healed. And I began to do the work on myself, releasing the stories that I was making those triggers mean about me. And it actually has completely transformed our marriage, completely transformed our marriage to the point where my husband has started to do his inner work, which that has never been his forte whatsoever. And it's opened up a whole new just avenue for us to actually talk about healing, for him to feel safe about sharing those things that he feels and experiences, et cetera. And those were never anything that we would talk about. And it has just brought a whole different level of intimacy. I share all of that with you to let you know that wherever you are in your relationship, it can change. And even if you have been trying to fix your husband and he just is not willing to do the work, my friend, you can heal you. You can be a different person just by doing your own inner work and recognizing what those triggers are meaning about you. Not only is it going to help you, but it will help your marriage in tremendous amounts of ways. Perhaps your husband will decide, man, I need to do some work. My wife has completely transformed. Or perhaps there will be a point in your marriage where you realize you're just going in two separate ways. And I would recommend you do the work before you make that decision. I am not one that is a proponent of leaving a marriage unless there's harm in some way. But there are situations where if you're growing and you're healing and you're evolving, you may have a decision that you need to make. I share this with you to share. As Mark and I have been on this journey together, there are certain things that I have learned about the wounds that we hold in our bodies. And I'm talking specifically today about the father wound. And I want to explain to you about what the mother wound is as well, because chances are you have it as well. The majority of the population does. And it's by nothing that our mothers intentionally did to us. And I'm sure that I've passed that on to my children as well, because I repeated what information I was given, and you're going to do the same. And that's how we break the generational curses, right? When we know better, we can do better. So the father wound is something that I really started to understand that when I was seeing it in my husband. And I think sometimes when we understand actually what they're going through, we can see them through a different set of eyes, and a different set of eyes with compassion. And this has helped me tremendously in my marriage, because I was able to see my husband through a completely different set of eyes, and knowing, wow, this makes sense. There is a father wound there, or there's a mother wound there. And that's why this happens with him. And there have been times when actually we're having a discussion, and I recognize within my husband, wow, this isn't my husband that's speaking right now. This is actually the 7 or 8-year-old version of him. And it just opens up your heart for a different level of compassion. You guys, men are not taught to work on their stuff. They're just not. They are taught to stuff their emotions, dry it up, get better. Okay, off. Be strong. You're a man. Be strong. And so if we can help them along the way, we're not responsible for their healing. Please don't take that away from this podcast, because that is in no way what I'm saying and will ever say. He's responsible for his healing. But we can open our hearts and have a level of compassion and help guide them in that direction. The purpose of this podcast is to educate you so that you can see what may be happening within your husband, but also to see what's happening within you when it comes to the mother-father wound. Always, if you have gone through my programs, any of my programs with marriage or mindset, etc., I'm always happy for you to share that with your spouse. Whatever it takes for the two of you to be whole and healed. Remember, every relationship is here for us to grow and evolve. And you and your husband have a divine connection. And that divine connection is for you guys to grow and evolve together. That is a different message than what we've ever been taught in this life. But that is the truth. We are here. You attracted this man physically, I'm sure, but you attracted him on a spiritual level as well. And that's what I want to speak to, is that spiritual level. That spiritual level is actually the bond that you guys have, that you are here to help each other grow and evolve to your soul's mission, to your soul's mission. And if everyone could see that, I think we would be in a different place when it comes to how we react in our conversations with our spouse. So let's dive into this. Let's look at the father wound and what that may look like within your spouse, but I also want you to use it as what you may be going through as well. So there's a father wound. The father, the place in your life, the father is the provider of strength. The father is the person who gives guidance. The father is our protector. And the father is someone who prepares you for the world. Okay, so I want you to think of that strength, that protection, that guidance that prepares you for the world. Now, some of you right now may be saying, well, my father wasn't that. That's the father wound. For me, my father was physically not around. At 3 years old, I didn't see him again until I was 18. And then I didn't see him again until I was 40. So my father was not around. So I had some abandonment issues from my father. Okay. Those were the stories that I made up about myself, that I am abandoned. Now remember, we are responsible for what happens within us. The other person is responsible for their actions. All we're talking about here is from the spiritual perspective, is what our part is. Okay. So the mother is our source of love. the mother is the nurturer, the one who gives affection and really nurtures the heart. So it's so funny that I'm actually talking about this because we have a brand new puppy within the last week. And my goodness, I have actually forgotten how hard it is to have a puppy. It's been 16 years since we have had a puppy in our house. And I'm going to tell you, it's very interesting because this dog is supposedly my husband's dog. But what has ended up happening is I am the one to take care of this puppy. And it goes back to the mother, the nurturer, the source of love, right? And the man is the one that gives the strength, the guidance, the protection, and prepares you for the world. So it's innate in us as women to be the nurturer of all things. And so I have put that mother role on with this new little puppy. And when it comes to the nurturing side, my husband will just hand the puppy over to me and say, what does he want? I don't know what he wants. And so maybe you can relate to that when it comes to your children, right? There are some men that do have that nurturing ability, but most men, they were programmed, conditioned from their family of origin to be that person of strength, guidance, and protection. So a father wound may look like this. A father wound can look like you're trying to be seen. You're trying to be seen by maybe a father that was physically not there, or you're trying to be seen by a father who was emotionally not there. He may be present, but maybe not engaged. And this causes us really to go into the mode of proving our worth through achievement. Yes, that's where that comes from. We prove our worth. Well, he's not here for me. So if I do this, if I become this, then I will get the accolades. Then he will want to say, attaboy. Okay. So we seek to prove our worth. In our mind, the father represents the authority, the source of the validation. And so when that father is absent, there's a sense of abandonment. There's a sense of a little bit of coldness. And sometimes when that father puts relentless pressure on us, we actually lose our sense of self-worth. So father wound shows up as low self-esteem due to feeling unworthy. The father wound shows up as someone who's an overachiever, seeking the father's approval over and over, but never quite measuring up. Okay, that's how it shows up. For women, we seek out unconsciously, so we're not aware of this, but we seek out unconsciously men who are unavailable emotionally and physically. See how that measures up in your life. Okay. We seek out men. If we have a father wound, we seek out men who are emotionally and physically unavailable for us. For men, the father wound shows up as low self-esteem. They're chasing worth and value. So think of a man who's constantly seeking affirmations. That's his love language. That's what he's always looking for. He's chasing his worth and value. This in a man could be a very masculine man, or a man that has more feminine characteristics. And what I mean by this is more energetically, the nurturing side, etc., and more masculine, more the strong, one that is the responsible one, the protector, the guider, etc. So I'm speaking more of energetically than I am physical when I say masculine and feminine. So for men, they won't have any boundaries if they have a father wound. No boundaries. And sometimes there's too much openness. They're either completely closed off emotionally and physically, or they're too open about things. A man with a father wound has a story. And the story is a false narrative that says, I'm always doing something wrong. I'm always doing something wrong. And let me tell you, and I'm going to be very blunt here, what men think. what men think, what your husband is probably saying in his mind, not I'm always doing something wrong. It doesn't sound like that. And allow me to be explicit here. A man says, I'm always fucking up. That's truly what he believes. He truly believes. And he says that in his mind over and over and over. And this is a man who did not get his emotional needs met as a boy, as a little boy. And when he didn't get his emotional needs met as a little boy, he's in that overachiever mode. And if he doesn't get the affirmations, if he doesn't get the approval, and if he feels like he's constantly doing something wrong, it doesn't matter what you said to him 5 minutes ago about how amazing he is. It doesn't matter. If it goes into his trigger, he's automatically going to erase all of the wonderful things that you've said about him. And he's going to think that he is totally messing up all the time. All the time. Again, I'm not sharing this with you so that you can hold yourself back or that you're responsible for his healing. I'm sharing this with you because I want you to be able to see what's happening within him. Okay. And like I said, if you are in some of my marriage programs or any of my programs, I highly recommend that you share it with your spouse. So here's what a man looks like. This is how he behaves in his relationship when he does have a father wound. Okay. So maybe you've noticed this. And it probably has triggered you because remember, it's a divine connection. When you feel triggered, that is your opportunity as you're being taught. This is an area where you are not free if you're still being triggered. So one of the things that happens with a man who has a father wound is he will meet your physical needs. He will probably go above and beyond to meet your physical needs. He is the one that is constantly doing for you, whether it's the right things that he's doing for you, but he's constantly doing things. But he does not meet your emotional needs. He does not know how to emotionally connect. And the reason why he doesn't know how to emotionally connect is he never had an emotional connection with his father. There was no emotional connection there. So he actually doesn't have the skill set. And I think what most of us, I know, most of us women, when we have a conversation about our marriage, and I see this with all the women that I coach, one of the things that they say is, I have them list all of the great things that they would love to have in an ideal partner. And the interesting thing is their spouse has 80% of those, 80% of those. But they're focused on the 20%. And the 20% is, I just don't feel like we have a connection. And they don't know how to put the words to it. But the connection that is missing is the emotional connection, the connection where there's an equal exchange of giving and receiving of emotions. Okay. So they meet your physical needs, but not your emotional needs. So there's a lack of an emotional connection. Like, what are you going through during the day? What are some of your upsets? What happened to you today that, made you disgruntled? Having conversations about their day and them sharing with us, it's very foreign to them. They don't know how to do that. Like on a deep, intimate level, it stays very superficial. Number two, the second thing is it's really hard for them to show affection. It's really hard for them to show affection. And rarely do they give praises or compliments. And it's because they don't know how. They never received them themselves. They don't know how. And I had this conversation with my husband about affection during the day. Affection during the day. And what he shared with me at that moment absolutely changed everything for me. He shared with me how little the affection he ever received as a boy. I had no idea, absolutely no idea. So having affection, giving affection was not something that he was accustomed to doing. Even though I would give affection, he didn't understand that he should reciprocate that giving that to someone else feels good because he never got to experience that from his father, from his mother, etc. So they don't know how to give that affection. And praises and compliments are foreign to them because they didn't receive those either. Number 3, the man that has a father wound has this insatiable need to prove to his partner that he's worth loving. This insatiable need. And it looks something like this. It looks like you are asking him what you are needing. Can you help me with this? Like, I don't feel loved by you. Can you do this? And they start speaking their own way of how they know to love. And that's by doing. So then they start doing things more around the house. They start doing more things around the outside of the house. They start doing things with the kids. They just do. They don't know how to be. And what I mean by be is to show up in the way that you're asking them, but they're constantly seeking to prove that they're worth loving, and it's by doing. So ask yourself, have there been times when we're just missing the mark? Like, he's doing this, I'm doing this, and he's not meeting my needs, I'm not meeting his needs, and it's because he's speaking something different than you need, but what he's doing is he's trying to prove to you that he's worth loving by doing all these things. And I remember early on in our marriage, I'm like, why is he out mowing the yard and watering the yard when I haven't seen him all day? That to him was, I'm going to prove to her that I'm worthy to have around. I'm worthy to, I've got skills. I'm worthy to be loved. And so it's so interesting because we take it as, he obviously doesn't want to spend time with me. No, he doesn't know how to spend time with you. All he knows how to do is to prove his value to you by doing. And he tries to fix all of our issues. That's what our spouse does. And he sacrifices himself, his own needs in any way that he can. And you probably see that. Like, he sacrifices his needs, his wants, and his desires because he's constantly doing for other people. He's constantly doing things for the kids, doing things for you, doing for other people. There's literally not a whole lot of balance for him. He's constantly overdoing to receive that he's worthy of love. Number 4, he's always watching his partner to see how he needs to adjust his own behavior, what to do, what to say, because he doesn't want to say the wrong thing. So you may not notice it, but he's just kind of maneuvering things because he doesn't know how to act. He wants to make sure that he can adjust his behavior so that he's not doing or saying the wrong thing at all times, because that was a fear that was placed in him at a younger age. He believed that if he did the wrong thing, then he wasn't going to be loved. And that's since his childhood, his sense of emotional safety actually came from the people around him. And so if his partner is okay, then he's good. And I'll tell you what happens if he's doing things around the house to prove to you that he's worthy of love. Once he feels like you are good, those things that he was doing for you around the house to prove that he's worthy of love are going to stop. And you're going to wonder, what the heck is happening here? Why do you start and stop, start and stop, start and stop? Because he's doing it to make sure that you're okay. And once everything is okay, he stops doing it. He stops doing those things because he knows that you're no longer anxious. It's just the pattern that he's accustomed to. It is a pattern. Lastly, number 5, a man who has a father wound, he isolates you during arguments or anything he views as difficult to handle. He'll isolate you. And in reality, what happens is he feels under attack, and you may not be attacking him whatsoever. So he will disengage and he will go silent for days or for weeks. Any of those sound familiar? Yeah. Again, have a level of compassion for where he picked up those stories, how he, from a young boy, maybe his father was not physically there, emotionally there, whatever it happens to be, he learned to adapt. And he learned that his father, who was absent physically or emotionally, meant something about him. So that story with him needs to heal. What this man needs is he needs to know how to feel that anger and that grief for that little boy where the father was absent physically or emotionally. He needs to learn how to nurture his own body and his nervous system, just like we do. So what I'm telling you for your spouse are the same things I'm going to tell you in any program that I walk you through. We have to learn to nurture our safety. We have to learn to come back to ourselves, because truly what we're seeking, the love and acceptance that we're seeking in the external world, we're actually needing our own love and acceptance. And learning to come back to you is the key. And it's one of the hardest, most powerful things that I teach, because the love and acceptance that we want from other people will never satisfy us. It will always keep us looking for that next thing. It's when you can truly learn to love and accept yourself, ground yourself, and really have a healthy central nervous system. That's the only way. That's the only way that you will feel safe. Nobody else can make us feel safe like that. It has to come from ourselves. We have to feel safe with ourselves first before we can feel safe with somebody else and allow them in an intimate way. A husband who has a father wound should learn how to communicate with his partner on what he's going through, what he's feeling, so that they can show up with each other on this. And this is a couple who has actually done a lot of inner work and recognized their own part in the relationship and started to healing their own part in the relationship. A couple who has stopped the blame game and is really looking as two separate individuals. What is it that I need to heal? What do I need to take responsibility for? That they can come together and show up for each other. That's an ideal partnership. And then your partner who has that father wound, he needs to look for evidence within himself that he's good enough. He needs to look for evidence within himself, not from the outside world. He's looking for that still in the outside world. He needs to come to terms with himself that he's good enough, that the story that he is not enough is not a true story. It's an illusion created from a circumstance, and the circumstance has controlled him for years and years and years. And the story is now playing over and over in his mind. The true way to get rid of the father wound is to take responsibility for the stories that we've told ourselves and heal those stories and recognize they were stories that I made up based on a circumstance, and I've allowed that circumstance to control me for way too long, and I'm ready to release it. Not just release the story, but release the person from the story. And that is where true forgiveness begins. I'm here for you. I'm always here to help you in any way. I hope this has been extremely helpful for you. Not only have you probably seen it in your spouse, you've probably seen it for you as well. The father wound is a big one. I love you. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next week. God bless you.